And welcome to the show. It's Street News Now, the network that you should be connected to by now. And if you're not, you just hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and please make a comment. We want to hear from you. It is Thursday, 6 p.m. here on the West Coast, and we do this every Thursday at this time. And I don't know why my ear thing here just keeps falling out. I think it may be because you know what? I'll tell you what it is. And see these damn things here? They have gotten my ears all out of whack. Are yours out of whack too? I have little ears anyway, but I look like a munchkin now or a leprechaun. And my ears just stick out. They're kind of like I got the Obama syndrome. And how his ears kind of stick out. so, so thank you, COVID, and these damn masks got my ears all jacked up. Now my eyeglasses don't stay on, my earbuds won't stay in. It's a mess. So I understand we're getting close to the end of having to wear these masks. I just hope that the officials in the various states and the federal government are not rushing to fail. That being said, let's get this thing cracking here. Let's bring in the professor, quick, fast, and in a rush. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? How
I'm
you doing,
doing, brother.
guru of radio, our radio coach himself, Master Lee Michaels. How are you, sir?
Oh, after all of that, I guess I'm doing okay. I'm here.
Well, you had me cracking up and like about what, and it just made me think.
Yeah, man.
It just made me think. Not only that, but you know what I should have did. Now I'm kind of mad at myself. I should have took a picture of every mask I purchased.
Yeah, right.
Because I was like every time it was like something that came out, in a report or something like that. I was like getting this new mask. I even got the mask that had the detachable shield.
Oh no, you went there too, huh?
I went there. I went
Lord.
the visor glasses. Every kind of mask that there was, I think I got, right?
No, I didn't try the visor and the plastic shield and all of that. I just went with several different masks.
Mm-hmm.
From a homemade mask. Initially, my daughter down in Houston, she was cranking them out on her sewing machine and shipping them out to the family members. And then we got the surgical mask,
Mm-hmm.
and then we got the N95, KN95, and different colors and all that stuff. So, but I'll tell you, man, I know people have gotten rashes behind the ears because damn things are too tight. So it has its fallouts, the pluses and minuses. So, but listen, I'm still wearing my mask. I don't give a damn.
Oh yeah, now I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
The flat elastic, and then the rolled elastic.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to figure out which one I was more comfortable with. But tonight, it's been on my mind, and it's been on my mind for quite a long time. One of the things that I would like to just touch on is why is it that black people run from history, or why is it that we avoid what makes it so bad for us to study what was? That's what I have my problem with. Okay.
And you know what? I understand what you're saying. There are a number of people that I know don't want to talk about the past or the history of how we got here. But my belief is if you don't know where you come from, how are you going to know where you're going? That's your foundation. That's your base. That's your starting point. And you can't ignore that. You can't pretend that it doesn't exist. And if you don't know your history, then you're ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
You're ignorant to the facts. And how do you move forward without knowing the base facts of how we got here?
Yes. So that's the thing that's been plaguing my mind, and because I see it all the time. One of the things that really irks me is that when I get a response from an individual, that response is, well, we don't need to know about that. And then another response that I get from people is that, well, they're concerned with the now, not realizing that your now is affected by what was.
Yeah, and not a whole lot has changed.
Right. And so
And that's what they gotta digest that.
and I'd
Accept
like for
that.
you guys to chop that up. And I'm gonna have to go and come back because I got a meeting I gotta go to right now. That's what
All
that
right.
call is all about.
Well,
Oh, and
cool.
so, but please, I hope Dr. Ron picks up on that. But I gotta go right now.
Well, peace, and we'll see you later if you can get back in time, and we'll be standing by waiting for you.
Thank you.
All right. Speaking of Dr. Ron, it's ironic that this falls right into your topic.
Yes.
So
Yes.
welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
before you do a deep dive on that, let's bring in the rest of the panel. Chris Bass, welcome.
Oh, welcome. It's great to see the guru in the point guard position. How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm hanging in there, man.
Oh, man, don't say that. You more than hanging in there. You here.
You know what? I mean, listen, I feel blessed. I'm humble and grateful that I'm here and able to see all of you guys and be here with you, because there are a lot of people who are not here.
True.
A fellow radio friend and colleague, Lynn Tolliver, made his transition just in the past day or two, and I remember meeting him for the first time at what was GCI AM, or was it WVON? I think it might have been WVON that he was on when I came here in late '79. I say here in Chicago, towards the end of '79. And Lynn Tolliver was one of the guys that I met. He's from Cleveland, and a great radio guy and broadcaster, and quite a character, to say the least. So, Lynn, see you later. Farewell. Job well done.
Absolutely.
You've made your mark. Your name is engraved in stone. And we will never forget you, and try to carry on your legacy, my brother. Peace be with you.
Amen.
Yep. That being said, let's go ahead and dive in. Dr. Ron, you want to pick up where the professor left off and talking about the history and how things have changed, and a lot of things have changed, but there are a lot of things that have not changed. And there've things that have changed or been modified or maybe softened, but the bottom line, those hateful things still exist today. I was watching Court TV, and these three guys down there in Georgia that killed the black jogger. I mean, to have that going on, and the racist comments that are now being exposed that they used in social media and emails and text messages and what have you, it's just reminds me, as a 71-year-old African American or black male, whatever you want to call me, I remember so many hateful things that were said to me and others as I was growing up. And I don't hear those remarks so much anymore, but they still exist and is still being used. So, what has really changed? Dr. Ron?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I thank the professor for that lead in, because we did not compare notes on what we were going to be talking about today, but it must be in the air. This being Black History Month, I've been talking all year and all month, specifically on this show, about the state of Black America. Now, we talked the last couple of weeks and we touched on a few things, and I specifically started my conversation talking about, if you don't mind, Lee, would you put up the screen share? This document that was done in history with the march in Washington on 1963. And I've been referencing this document all month long. And I felt like, okay, I've been talking about it, but I really need to show it. Okay, so that people can't say that it don't exist. You know, you got to prove everything on social media these days. If you don't prove it, they're going to be like, oh, where did you get that from? Well, the one thing that we have not evolved from is the in the first category is the right to vote. Now, this was the 10 demands of the March of Washington, D.C. in 1963. And all of these items on this list were important items for them to go to Washington, D.C. to emphasize the fact that we want, you know, civil rights. We want liberty. We want privileges. We want benefits. You can take it down, Lee, that we were not entitled to during that time period. And like the professor just alluded to, when we talk about history, you know, why are we afraid of history? What is the thing that makes us afraid to talk about history? And we also talked about critical race theory, which is what a lot of people have been afraid of in talking about history. And I've got another slide you can bring up, Lee. This is a document that shows all of the states. The ones at the top are the states with bans against critical race theory, and all of the names on the bottom are the states with bans moving through their state legislature right now as we speak. Now, this is in 2022. And I just wanted to emphasize this. I know sometimes people got to see things for it to become real to them, you know, and you can take it down, Lee. And these are states right now today that don't want to talk about history. They don't want to talk about the atrocities of history. They don't want to talk about the wrongs that their ancestors had done. And when we talk about their ancestors, you are the children of your ancestors that executed and purposefully punished, mistreated, and killed people. Okay? Just like we, people of color, are the ancestors of people that these things were done to. Well, I'm here to tell you today that the blood of our ancestors is crying out for us not to let this go unspoken about, not to go undealt with, not to go with. We need to keep pounding this pavement to let people know that my ancestors suffered for us to be where we are today. Okay? Whatever freedoms, whatever civil liberties that we have because there were people that were persecuted. There were people that came along that fought for their freedoms and their civil liberties. And now there are people that are trying to sweep all of this under the rug. And I, for one, am not willing to do this. I want to keep pounding the pavement. I want to keep speaking about it until it's a household name. Critical race theory. Well, like they say, well, we ought to forget about it and just move on. Well, my argument to that would be, if that's the case, then we ought not talk about the Jewish Holocaust ever again. Because the Jewish Holocaust was a disaster and a catastrophe that happened in time, which they always talk about. They have a Holocaust Remembrance Day every year. Every chance they get, they're taking visits back to those enslavement camps where they talk about what took place. And the reason why they talk about it, because if they ever stop talking about it, they know these things can happen again. That's the reason why they keep it on the forefront of everybody's consciousness. We don't need anything like this to happen again. And they keep bringing it up over and over and over again. Now, I say, because of the blood of our ancestors, we need to keep talking about it and talking about it and making it a conscious effort to make people aware of what our ancestors went through and the struggle. Now, I got one more thing I need to bring up, Lee. I'm going to bring it up. You can bring it up now, Lee. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about in relationship to this was this movie, Antebellum. Now, you've heard me talk about it over the last year. It came out in 2020. But this movie is an example of what the Europeans would like to take us back to. If you have never seen this movie, Antebellum, you need to see it. It's a conscious wake-up call on why it's important for us to keep talking about the blood of our ancestors that are crying out, okay? There were some atrocities that take place in this movie that will remind you, we got to keep talking about this. We can't stop talking about this. We need to make sure that critical race theory is not successfully banned in every state. And the states that are running it through their legislature, we need to speak out against it. You can take it down, Lee. We need to speak out against it. We need to make sure that we are on the front line. Many of us who have survived many of those type of things. I know, Lee witnessed the civil rights movement. I've witnessed it. Mike has witnessed it because we're of that age group. And we've seen the movement and how important it was to our parents and our grandparents and how they kept us aware of what was going on through the movement, who people were. We knew who Martin Luther King was. We knew who Malcolm X was. We knew about all of the movements and who the Black Panther Party was in Chicago. We knew these things because it was made for us to be aware of. We need to keep our consciousness open. One thing, Europeans or any captor tries to do when he's trying to capture, he will take your books, your writings, your journals, your information, and burn it. Because they don't want you to be able to understand your heritage, your religions, your knowledge of your ancestors. So when they burn those things, they did it to the Jews. They burned their books. And then they began to re-indoctrinate them into what they wanted them to know and understand. So I'm just saying that we, all of us, people of color, cannot not hear the blood of our ancestors crying out. We need to respond to the cry and keep on pushing forward. And I understand critical race theory is something that nobody knows about. Well, we need to make them aware of it. We need to make them conscious of it. So my brothers join me. As they join me, hey, that's my rant for this week.
Well, it's an important message that you brought to the table tonight. And it plays right into what the professor started out with. We have to understand, respect, and keep our history alive. It's not that we want to rub it in anybody's face. but it is what it is. We can't change it. You know, the horse is out of the gate. It's running at full speed. And we got to embrace what happened. Embrace it. And we want others to embrace it. I think once we can all wrap our arms around the truth, the real history, the real stories that affected everyone. Everybody was affected by it. White people, black people, red people, yellow people. Everybody was affected by history. In some way, you were affected, good and bad. So let's not ignore it. Let's embrace it. Let's talk about it. And let's get to a point where we can all say, that was really a bad situation. That was a bad time. And let us do what we need to do so it never happens again. Simple. It's a simple thing. Let go the hate and move forward with some love and peace and tranquility and equality. Listen, folks, it is a fear that some people have of losing power, wealth, dominance. But that's not what it's about. I don't want you to lose anything. I just don't want you to stop me from getting to where I want to go. And there's enough for all of us. There's enough of everything for everybody. And if I do well, guess what? I'm going to pull somebody else along so they can do well. And those that are in that 1% right now, you know what I'm talking about. That's how you got to where you are. You stepped on some people during the process too, and that's not cool.
Yeah. Can I throw this out there too? In addition to, you know, Trump did a press conference when he was president, and he proclaimed in his speech that teaching critical race theory was equivalent to child abuse. By teaching the ancestors of the ones who perpetrated this abuse and telling them what their grandparents and their elders of their European descent did, he called that child abuse for telling the kids that.
Telling the kids the truth, but he would rather lie to everybody and dictate to his advantage. So he has no credibility whatsoever with me. None, zero. So whatever he says, if he says, hey, the house is on fire, I'm not going to worry about it because he's a big, bold-faced liar. And he will cheat, steal, has, and will continue if we let him. Key. If we let him. We have let him get away with murder. And we haven't stopped him. And we've had 2 chances to kick his ass out of the White House. Y'all, Republicans, didn't do the right thing. And guess what? Your names will be on the wrong side of history.
Mm-hmm.
Just like those senators that were part of the planning of the insurrection. It's coming out. It's coming. Can't stop it. The truth will always prevail. Go ahead, me so horny.
Me love you long time. Me love you long time.
Boy, you need help.
See, you need to get your mind out of the gutter because that's the whole expression of me, you know, serving my purpose is to love you a long time, now and forevermore. It's a play on words.
Yeah.
You know, all of us, male, female, we all get horny and we all know what that means. I got the broom right over here. I got the Swiffer. I got the Swiffer to clean my stuff up. Don't even worry about it.
You need some Lysol on that one.
Oh man.
Me love you long time. See, it gives me a chance to say, me love you long time. But, you know, one of the things, and I applaud Ron for the stance that he's taken. I agree with him 150%. But where I'm a little to the left of what he said is I'm not against anything that he said, because he's absolutely correct. But the problem is everything that we need to do as African Americans to teach our children, we don't need to depend on school districts to teach our children. Those lessons, that history that Ron is talking about, needs to start at home. You know, one of the things in the age bracket that I'm in, and the women that, you know, I'm fond of and would date or whatever the case may be, all of them want to go get their grandkids. But they want to go get the grandkids and buy them gifts and hug on them and love on them. And that's all well and good. That's what grandma should do. But what are you teaching these children? You know, one of the things that we really need to understand is that the moment we let someone else teach our children something is when we're detrimentally in trouble. Because the message, and I think Ron said, that will never be correct. That's why it's called critical race theory. It's not called critical race theory because it's easy. It's critical because it needs to be said. But if it's not coming from us, what good does it do? We don't need Ward Cleaver standing before the class telling our children about Black history. That's danger to me. I'm not saying that as an educator he can't do it, but why would I trust that? And I think one of the things that African Americans have to do is we have to find a way to tell our story to our kids. Because you know what we've let our, as adults, Black adults, have done? We let the rappers teach our kids. We let these artists come out and teach our children. Your children aren't wearing hoodies because you said, baby, before you go outside, it's only going to be 38 degrees. You need to put a hoodie on. They putting that hoodie on because they saw one of their peers wear a hoodie. And every time I see someone wearing a hoodie, I'm becoming afraid, because it looks like this hoodie is a shelter to keep yourself away from learning the things you need to know. I don't want to hear what you got to say. I'm going to wear my hoodie, and I got my hoodie on, and this is where I live. That's some straight frackinackle BS. And the thing of it is, just like our parents spent their last dollars to get Britannica and the World Book Encyclopedia, we need to be going to a publishing company that will print either a group of books, encyclopedias, or whatever they are, that African Americans can put in the home and instruct their children to go read it. The story has to come from us. I don't give a damn about them states that want to run it, that want to have it, don't want to have it. That don't mean jack. It does. I mean, I'm not knocking down what you're saying, Ron, but I mean, when we don't take the responsibility, it's a bigger problem. When you sit there and let your child, your kid has no credit and has no money, but you'll go out and get a $1,200 cell phone and match it up with some Beats Pros and let them kids be sheltered into their phone listening to some indirect foolishness. So you telling me, and no disrespect to anybody that's watching, that it's more important for your children to know what bitches and hoes are than they need to know about slavery and racism and the blood that Ron is talking about that's spilled into the soil of this country. See, we got to take the steps that don't put us in a dependency role. We're too damn dependent on somebody else to do our job. We got to do our job. And I was thinking about that, and I was going to talk to you guys offline about that. We need to identify a publishing company where there's direction coming from an African American that can maybe put together a set of books that can be in homes that you could give for gifts to Black families, not from white folks, but from other Black folks. You want to go get them grandkids and spend money on them. Yeah, call me Nene, TT, BBCC, whatever. You spend all that damn time on that. I got to go get them grandkids. I'm so sick of hearing that. I embrace it because I had a grandmother, but my grandparents did not raise me. My parents raised me. Everything and every substance that's inside of me came from inside the home of Alice and Reuben Glenn. My dad worked at General Motors for 35 3/4 years. He never leaves out the 3/4. Don't you better not ask him. Go dig his ass up from the grave, and he gonna say 35 3/4 years.
3/4.
He putting that 3/4 on there.
Absolutely.
He worked in a dispensary picking up bloody bandages from people who cut their fingers on the bumpers and the cars and all that kind of stuff. Wore Dickies every day. You know, in the entire 35 3/4 years that he worked there, I only seen my dad in those Dickies one time. He went into the locker room. He put them Dickies in the laundry. He put on his Knox hat. He put on his blazer. He put on his Stacey Adams, and he got in his Coupe de Ville and drove to Centerville, Illinois each and every day. 8th grade education, hoboed on a train from Columbus, Mississippi. Ran for alderman and won. Everybody in this neighborhood, this was a brand new neighborhood that was built and African Americans were moving in, and they couldn't get a home insurance because the city didn't have a fire department. So they rallied this meeting together to talk to the people who were supposed to be doing it and found out all the money that was raised was pilfered to some other BS. So my dad and a committee of people took him to court, and my dad became the president of the Church Road Cotton Belt Fire Protection District in Centerville, Illinois. Church Road was the street. Cotton Belt was the name of the Terminal Railroad Company that donated their first fire truck. The moment that they got a fire truck and a firehouse in the decision, and you know how they raise money to build the firehouse? We had a snow cone machine and a popcorn machine, and they gave sock hops every Saturday night. That's how they raise money. Yes, sir.
You know, I understand you said that you want to see our history taught by us, and I get that. But history was important to the Europeans to be able to give us their history in school. They talk about Christopher Columbus and the whole adventures that he had, how he discovered this and did that. And then they talk about other things in history that they felt like they wanted to make us aware of, that we have come to learn as we got old and gray, that those stories were just that, fairy tales. They could have told us about the 3 little pigs and 3 little bears and all those other little fables that they came out with, you know, when we were not able to understand. But in response to publishing, could you put that picture up, Lee, that I got? When I was a kid, they had these books that were published by Blacks. This is the 3rd edition. You know, when I was a young man, they were working on the 1st edition. Great Negroes Past and Present. And these were the books that when we had exposure to in our schools in the hood, because we went to school in the hood. And we also had exposure to these books in the libraries, and also these books in our homes. And you're right. Our parents exposed us to this information with the explicit purpose of saying you can be anything that you want to be. And they would give us examples of those success stories of inventors, sports legends, you know, historians. They gave us those stories. You know, And my mom used to lie to me and tell me, you could be president one day. Nah, it wasn't no chance that I was ever going to be president. You know, because I knew who my mom and daddy was. You know, but
yeah, we all felt that same way because my mom would sit on the side of the bed, tucking me and come out. You could be president. Every parent. See, you're making my point, Ron. That's where it has to happen. We're not saying that they shouldn't teach it in school.
Exactly.
But that cannot be the first time that they hear it. And they need to be able to participate. And if that teacher is giving the wrong information, they need to be able to raise their hand and say, Mr. Wilson, I'm not sure if that's correct. I brought a book from home that says this is what happened. You see what I'm saying? That's why they don't want to do it, because they don't want to be corrected. And they don't want to be told. They want to tell the story. It's been our history as Americans, not African Americans, as Americans, that you tell this story that we wear as a badge, that we're a great country.
You know, I look at, and I think I sent Lee the videotape on this year before last, when they were doing the Black Lives Matter marches in Chicago. Under the cover of darkness, the city of Chicago removed the Christopher Columbus statue from the park that it was posted in. And the Italian American League, who helped put that statue up 2,000 years ago or whenever they put it up, protested, took them to court, and raised holy hell about their hero, the one hero in history that they try to stand on. We're Italian Americans in this country because of him. Okay. So it's important to Europeans to have their heroes in statue. Okay. You know, so we need to make sure that the blood, I can't say it enough, the blood of our ancestors
spilled in this soil,
that spilled in this soil is the answer, the call to duty, the answer we need to rise to that occasion under every age level. Little kids, middle-aged kids, teenagers, we need to put it in them. You know, we need to make sure that they understand. So when they hear the names, that they know who we talking about. You know, like my family, just as an example, everybody in my family knows about my grandfather, you know, and his journey that he took from the Bahamas to come to the United States, to work in his own barbershop as a barber for 55 years. We know the numbers. You know,
right. They don't let you forget them 35 3/4. They don't let you forget about them numbers. You know,
55 years. And when the Bahamas was no longer the British Isles, they got their independence from Great Britain. He sold his barbershop and went back to the Bahamas.
I ain't mad at it.
Okay, because he would not step foot on that island again as long as it was under British rule. Okay, and that story is a story that my nieces, my nephews, everybody in the family knows about, because that's close to home.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are other heroes and sheroes that are in our families. Like my grandmother, she talks about how they had to escape from Boley, Oklahoma, when they was tearing it up, you know, and the white tea was going down there killing everything black and raping everything black. She tells those stories. So yes, generations, like I said, because we old and got gray hair on top of the head.
Speak for yourself.
On top of the head. Okay.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
We got gray hair. All right. So we saw the civil rights movement up close and personal.
Not to interrupt, but everybody remembers seeing Martin Luther King lying on that pavement in that Jet magazine on his back after he was assassinated. It was everywhere. And you know, you make an excellent point, because once again, with us losing Johnson Publishing, every home you went into when we were kids, like you said, our demographic, the four of us that are on here right now, you saw an ebony or jet on the coffee table. Everybody had an ebony or jet. See,
for various
that
reasons.
mentality, that drive. Now, some people, you know, the beauty of the week was more important than anything
buddy,
else.
for various reasons.
But that's okay. I'd rather look at that beauty of the week than be looking at Ginger Rogers or some damn body.
I know that's right, brother.
You know, but once again, like I said, you make an excellent point. I'm only firming up what you're saying in reference to don't be dependent on this thing, because like you said, you showed the proof that it's being fought. So when Dr. Ron shows you the states that are have it in legislation that don't know if it's going to stick, and the states that have already made the decisions, that is your clue to say, I'm not dependent on that. Go ahead, Chris.
I want to ducktail on what Mr. Me So Horny said earlier in the conversation.
Me love you long time.
I know you do, and that's great.
Yeah.
So when Me So Horny, when you talked about grandparents and you talked about family, just now hearing your story, Mike, about your father, Ron about your grandfather and family, and Lee about his family, that's history. That's what we should thrive on. And again, you have to be careful of other people telling your story, because they could edit it, they can manipulate it, and they have done so.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to what Mike said earlier about rap, let me talk about family and I get to rap. So you mentioned about grandparents. I told the story before. My maternal grandfather, we saw every day because my grandfather had taken me to school when I was a youngster. And so I'm about 8 or 9 years old. My grandfather loved to play checkers, as most grandfathers would do. And he should have been in some sort of league or competition. He was just that good. So he would beat the snot out of me, not physically, but in checkers. And he'd just go. And not only that, he would laugh in my face while he was beating my ass in checkers. So being 8 years old, I sit here in front, I cried because I was getting my ass beat. And I never forgot, I said, "Granddaddy, how come you won't let me win?" He didn't miss a beat. "Boy, I'm trying to win. Watch I help you." And it taught me a valuable lesson. You have to step your game up. You want to beat me? You got to step your game up in order to get into society, into life, because you'll have moments like that. You'll have moments people will challenge you and want to beat you. But can you beat back? Can you become a winner instead of a loser? Because losing is not a good category to be in. Who wants to be in the L? You want to be in the W. So I took that for the rest of my life. It was one of those lessons. You just have to sit there and take it. You talk about rappers. So you are correct. Music has always influenced us. I mean, it could be jazz, it could be blues, it could be Motown, it could be funk. It does have a life where it does become a part of your life. It's in your DNA. So the rappers I was coming up made me think. We don't have those rappers anymore because now it's mumble rap, all that type of stuff. But when I was coming up, for example, Public Enemy made me want to pick up the autobiography of Malcolm X as told by Alex Haley. Why? Because they had excerpts of Malcolm's voice in their raps. And I knew of Malcolm X, but I knew exactly who he was until I read the book. KRS-One, songs like You Must Learn, would make you think. Kool Moe Dee, another brother that would make you think. One of my favorite songs he ever did of all time, a personal favorite, outside of the Wild Wild West, God Made Me Funky, Funke. So those songs, got into my brain cells and made me think. It's a shame we've been removed from that because Public Enemy, Don't Believe the Hype, Can't Trust It, I go on. And Can't Trust It dealt with slavery. When you look at the backstory of those raps, I thank them tremendously. Those rappers had no, and Rakim, from everybody being Rakim, that's another one that made me think. not only was I bobbing to the beat and the bass line of it, the content became strong. We don't have it anymore, but once upon a time ago, we did. And it does lay the foundation of going back to what I said about history. So it was interesting to watch the Super Bowl this past Sunday and see rappers actually get in there and do it. Going back to Snoop and Dr. Dre and Eminem, Mary J. Blige was there, Kendrick Lamar. And for me, on a side note, it was just nice to know people who I knew that sang and were in the industry. And I know about you, watching these past. I mean, don't get me wrong. Prince is the GOAT of all halftime Super Bowl for performance, as far as I'm concerned. But they were acts on there. I had no idea who they were. And now, 8-time Grammy winner, coming off the European tour, the Flying Hats. Huh? I had no idea. I felt like an old man, which I am to a degree. I'm like, y'all gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I wear my hat. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. This is stupid. I mean, I'm sorry. And I understand they're trying to get to a younger demographic. I understand that. Maybe the Flying Hats are great for millennials and who the hell they are. But I just knew that for me and people my age range, we got tired of seeing these people who had, I don't know, no semblance of what we were trying to listen to or watch. And the whole history thing. History is vital. The old folks told me all the time, if you see yourself do right, then you do right. But how do you know about doing right if I didn't tell you about where you came from, where your family came from, where your grandparents came from, your family?
Absolutely.
That's the education. That's where it's vital. And I totally agree. It all starts from home.
Amen. Because when it comes from home, it's authentic, it's real, it's uncut, unfiltered. And and that's a double-edged sword, because a lot of the hate that exists in our world today comes from home. Okay? When you're born into this world, you're not born hateful, mean, a murderer mentality. That's a learned behavior. Those things are taught to you by your environment.
Amen.
Whether it's racism or a person with a kind heart. Now, granted, you can live in a bad situation and hear a lot of hateful things. And if your mind is strong enough, you can say, no, man, that's not cool. That's not right. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. And you can resist and go in a different direction from that you heard and saw every day. It's a tough battle to overcome. It's very difficult, but it can be done. And I know people that made that transition. It didn't eat them up, didn't take them in that same direction that they heard at the dinner table every night.
Yep.
So it's up to you to be a
Make the
strong
change.
mind, and bring about a change in your environment.
Yep.
And control your destiny.
Amen.
Yep.
That's why I said I'm in full agreement with what Ron. We need to know what states are supporting and what's not. But at the end of the day, do not depend on that. If you're going to go get your grandkids, if you got your children, maybe there's no father in the home. Okay. And that's sad. Okay. But at the same time, that's not the critical mass. The critical mass in the situation is family and where this information comes from, because there's a bigger picture when you go back and talk about your grandfather or you talk about other people in your family that have been successful. See, one of the dangers is success in this environment today means money. $6 million watch. Snoop Dogg just bought Death Row Records. See, all of that's good. Congratulations. But that's not the guide. The guide is what Ron said. Blood has been spilled in the soil.
Yep.
You got to go to that soil and tell that story first.
Yep.
I'm not going to put someone else ahead of my grandfather, who was a sharecropper, had 40 acres and a mule, and turned around and built a family, 9 siblings that went out and had to get jobs and got married and had families to extend our generation.
Mm-hmm.
We're haphazardly spilling semen or sperm all over the place carelessly, like it means nothing. And the examples are coming from our NFL and NBA players. We got a guy right now that's getting ready to pay $40,000 a month in child support. Why? And you already have your child on television with her mother doing a national commercial that everybody sees each and every day. But unless you're in that circle, you don't know that's Tristan Thompson's daughter. She's a beautiful little girl. But don't nobody know that's his daughter unless you in that circle. She's gone on about her business. She collecting child support from him. And she's getting paid from a national commercial and exploiting, not directly, what they created so she can have money. But what does it do for that child? I'm real good friends with Nick Cannon. I started Nick Cannon in the syndication business. I'm not a fan of 7, 8, 9 kids being had because you want to keep your legacy going. It's okay. The legacy, part of a legacy, has something to do with parents uniting, not just having kids. Those kids are going to be at a point that they're going to ask questions. See, I tell you guys everything, and this newscast is put out across the country, so people know a lot more about me than they probably know about a lot of people on the planet. My mother had me, and I to this day don't know who my real father is. But her oldest brother and his wife didn't have any children, and 5 days after I was born, they adopted me and moved me to St. Louis, Missouri. Had me baptized, sent me to Catholic school, gave me a car when I was 16 years old, and a college education.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give something back. Now, Bishop Jake said it yesterday in Bible study. Pettiness ain't the answer. What, I'm going to go to the grave and hate my mother? She's gone. The mother who conceived me, she's passed away. I love her. I miss her. Whatever mistake she made at that point, it only damages me in one sense, not because of the infidelity. But when I go to the doctor, I can't tell a complete history because there's a man out there that may have diabetes. There's a man out there that may have heart disease that I can't tell my doctor. So when I'm being diagnosed with an ailment, they only see one side. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you can't, I'm not going to be mad at my mother for that. Because we've all gone through changes. We've all had growing pains. Everybody makes mistakes. Failure is not failing. You learn something. She learned something because my grandfather said, at the rate you going, my sister was already born in 55. I'm born in 57. He said, you ain't gonna never get married like this. I feel for her. She gave up her child. I can't even imagine the turmoil that my mom was going through to give me up to somebody else. But she went on and got married and had 3 more children. It's 5 of us, and we're thick as thieves. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back around. Can you put that book back up again, Lee? You know, I just want to make sure people see this. Great Negroes, past and present. Our stories are in this book.
Yeah.
You know, you can go out and get this book. It's still available. It's in publication. It's the 3rd edition. There's history in these books that it's important that we all gravitate and pass this information out to our young ones. And in closing, I saw the halftime show with all them hip hop people, which I did know who they was. But like Chris said, his favorite one was all the hip hop people. Mine was when Janet Jackson, got exposed. Now that to me was a halftime show. And I yield my time back to Mr. Lee.
Oh, he's so horny. We love him long time.
Well, I guess everybody got their favorite halftime performance at the Super Bowl. I have many. Yeah, Janet was good. I also enjoyed Jenny from the Bronx. I thought her thing was hot.
Yeah.
I like a very active stage, a performance.
Yeah. It was entertaining.
Yeah. The rappers, they don't do a lot of moving around and stuff, especially rappers like Snoop. Snoop is like the Jerry Butler of rap.
Jerry Butler. I'm not sure if he'll agree with that compliment, but I have to give it to him. That guy is smart as hell, and I applaud him. And I hope don't lose your thought, Lee, but I'm hoping that kids see him as an entrepreneur. That he's using what people are trying to see. Once again, the corporations want to use him because he has the power. Hey, let's give him a beer commercial. Let's give him a water commercial. They doing all of this kind of stuff, but what he did, he turned around and he's showing you that he's an entrepreneur by spirit.
Yep.
Oh, no question.
That's what you have to take away from that. Don't take away the Snoop. Oh, that's Snoop Dogg. And he do Corona. He said, why can't we be friends, or whatever the song is that he uses when he passing out beer on the beach. That's a commercial. We understand that.
Right.
But he's got a job.
Yeah. That's part of his entertainer persona that he has to portray, and he carved out a heavy, long-lasting niche, with the whole Snoop Doggy Dog thing, and I love him for that. But he is the Jerry Butler of rap. Jerry Butler was the Iceman of R&B.
Iceman.
Right. He would come out on the stage and sing and make you
and be
cry and
feel as butter.
And you never saw him break a sweat.
But now, but you know something, Lee, that the generations that are behind us, that they don't understand that whether it was Diana Ross, whether it was Marvin Gaye, whether it was Jerry Butler, and the list goes on, Ron Isley, these were teaching moments to their generation. Mm-hmm. If you go back and you look at some of the titles from the Supremes, Someday We'll Be Together, Aretha Franklin, I'm going to rap on your door, tap on your window pane until you come back to me.
Yep.
You know how many black women were helped? Those were national anthems.
Yes.
RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. Taking care of TCB.
Right.
Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me. See, we saw common law right before our eyes with this label, this phenomenon called Motown.
Yep.
And these artists were talking to black men. They were talking to coloreds and Negroes at that time. And then you get Johnson Publishing Company to firm it up, because we would have never known who Nat King Cole was and all the people that they put in that magazine, that they highlighted. They weren't in people. Who's zooming who? You damn right, Gus. See, there were messages in that music. That's the fear that whether it was you, Chris, talking about it, or Ron, this with the mumble rap. Okay, yeah, maybe they understand it. I don't know what the message is, but me being in the music business, I know a little bit, and that message ain't about empowerment. That message is some old street code that you feel you need to live by. The street code means nothing when you ain't nobody. You better think from Aretha Franklin. What you're trying to do to me, you better think.
You don't know nothing about that, boy. What you talking about?
Well, do you think did you hear what she just said? You better think.
Oh, yeah.
You better think. You know what that
you're
did?
trying to do to me.
What you trying to do to me. So now here's a black woman at home with an apron on, coming home every day, cooking food and taking care of her man, and he ain't treating her well. Aretha's right there whispering in her ear. Knock on his door.
Right.
Knock on his window pane.
Tap, tap, tap.
Until he come back to you. That's
Yep.
what you gonna do.
Yep.
Come on. You got it. You see, we got no messages. And that's why I said I'm 100% with Ron that we need to ensure that this stuff is here, but I don't want to depend on that. I want to ensure that mothers who have children that you want to go and get and spoil. I want to spoil that baby. I want to spoil them kid. Look what Nene got for you. Look what TT got for you. Look at. What are you doing to empower their minds? They don't need no Jordans from you. It's nice if you give them something for Christmas, but you need to be telling them about their grandfather. You need to be telling them about their uncles. You need to be telling them about the city that they live in. Half these damn people live in communities that they don't know about the history of the community. I read the other day that there's a housing project. Now I'm gonna say, I gotta be honest with you. I'm surprised this housing project is still standing. In East St. Louis, Illinois, there's a housing project called the Orr-Weathers. And I just read the other day, and I didn't know this at 64 years old, that Orr was a black attorney and Weathers was Dr. Weathers, a black physician in our town. And the projects were named after them. I didn't know. A lot of people probably did know. I didn't know. Now I say all that to say this. Then how do you protect that legacy? Because that means you need to probably tear those buildings down because they're antiquated for how people should live. And now you need the new Orr-Weathers. You see what I'm saying? Townhouses or whatever you can come up with today. So people in low-income housing can have a roof over their head that will protect them and give them the incentive that they need to go out and get a job. Man, you ain't seen nothing bad till you see a tent city. When I get out in that car and I'm driving for Lyft and I'm taking people all over the city of Dallas, the Metroplex, Fort Worth, and everywhere else that's in this area, and I pass downtown on the flip side of downtown Dallas, Texas, there's a tent city. It'll make you cry. Mm-hmm. Then there's people who are staying in their cars. There's 3 blocks of it.
Yep.
They got nowhere to go. In your prayers, pray for these people. There are people who are living under overpasses.
Yep.
Now, they can go to the Salvation Army, but they segregate you. If you're white, if you go in there with your wife, you can't get into bed with her at the Salvation Army. They got a side for women and they got a side for men. Over 50% of the people who live in these kind of shelters are suffering for some kind of mental illness. We ain't even touched that yet.
Yep.
We don't know if that came from the war. We don't know if that came from drugs or whatever the case may be, but it's affecting our community because these people have nowhere to go. And I say these people, my brothers and sisters, respectfully. I don't mean these people like I'm not associated with them. But they don't have no jobs. They don't have no skills. So they have nowhere to go. They've stolen a shopping cart from one of the local stores, and they got everything in that cart they own.
Yep.
Can you imagine, guys, if you had everything you owned in a shopping cart? Everything you own. This is unbelievable.
In America.
in America.
Over 65,000 homeless in LA alone.
Alone.
And that number is about 2 years old. That was pre-COVID.
Right. Everything you own. You got people in the summertime, it's 90 degrees outside and they're walking around with their coats on, an overcoat. Because if they set that coat down, somebody's going to steal it.
Mm-hmm.
People laid out in the grass because they got nowhere to go. See, when you can spend the night in the Salvation Army, you can stay there all day, but there's nothing for you to do. So then you get out and you just aimlessly, you see these people, they just aimlessly walking around. 90% of the people that are standing at a four-way intersection, asking for money, rubbing their tummies, trying to tell you that they're hungry, veterans too, yes, Leslie, you're correct, have nowhere to go. They got nowhere to go. But we sitting here applauding Elon Musk. We're sitting here, and I'm not picking on him by no stretch of the imagination, but we're sitting here applauding the game. That's why I said a couple of months ago, I don't want to be rich. Yeah, like I said, now if I win the lottery, I'm keeping the money. I'm not giving it back. But I don't want to spend my life working to be rich. Now, if these people have the skill set to do it, more power to him. He came up with the electric battery that gives a car life and the whole 9 yards. And if your power goes out at your house, you can charge your house with your car. Genius. I'm not mad at that. But nobody's coming up with a solution that handles the mental illness, that handles veterans that have gone overseas to fight for us to have freedom, and we got nowhere for them to go. It ain't right.
Can I throw this out about veterans right quick?
Of course.
Many people may not know this. So if you know someone who served in the armed services, it is any veterans hospital anywhere in the world they can go to if they're homeless, and they will provide a place for them to stay.
Amen.
Just an FYI moment, public service announcement.
Please repeat that again.
I was going to.
Hurry up. Me love you long time.
Anywhere in the world that there is a veterans hospital, if they served in any branch of the armed services, you can scoop them up and take them to the hospital and tell them this person is homeless, and they will provide a place for them to stay. Okay? Just want people to know that veterans, if they're homeless, some of them don't want to be in the VA hospital,
right? But
they will provide a place for them, a warm place, food. They will provide for them because they are veterans. And you don't even have to prove that you're a veteran. All you got to do is say, I'm a veteran. And they will take you in and provide a place for you.
Did you read the comment that Leslie just said?
What's she saying?
She's aware of the process. It is crazy, and it takes a long time. It's not instant. And I know that for a fact because I've worked with a lot of veterans, and what the Veterans Administration will do is give you a certificate that will allow you to take that document to a landlord that says the United States government will basically take care of your rent. But here's the catch, especially in places like Los Angeles where the market rate is so high. So let's say you can go find a 1-bedroom apartment in LA, if you're lucky, for $2,500. If you're lucky, and it's not in a great neighborhood. So you take your certificate to that landlord, and you're a veteran, legitimate veteran. You have a document from the Veterans Administration, from the United States government, that says We got this guy. Hook him up. Well, first of all, there's a lot of requirements that landlord's property must adhere to. It's got to have all the different regulations that the government requires. And most of the places don't have handicap access and stuff like that. So that's one strike. The second strike will be, well, I can get $3,500 for it, but the government only want to pay me $1,800. So why do I want to take less just because you're a veteran? So that's another major strike against you getting that place. Now, and there's some other obstacles as well. Oh, you, the veteran, from what I understand, have to have the down payment or the basic fee to get into it. Most of these guys don't have jobs. They don't have any money.
Right.
And if they do, they have a little check coming in every month. That's not going to be enough to pay $1,500, $2,000, or $3,000 to get you into that place. So that letter, that document, is meaningless. It doesn't help you. So what's the solution? When I become governor, this is what I'm going to do. And if you think that this program that I'm about to tell you, then you tell me what state you want me to go to. If you're going to support me as a governor, here's what I'm going to do. All the state-owned properties, not all of them, but those that make sense, that need repair, that needs to be fixed up to bring up to code or whatever, we're going to make that happen so that we can put homeless people off the streets into decent, quality, affordable housing. That's how you solve it. You don't just pass the problem off to some other agency and say, hey, well, give them a letter and wish them luck. No. Listen, there are a lot of veterans out there on the street that have skills. Some might be able to do some plumbing work, electrical work, carpentry, something. They can do something. If it's no more than landscaping. So you get those guys that have skills, bring them into this housing project that you want to build for them or modify or upgrade. Let them do that. So now they've got a vested interest in where they're going to live.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a job to take care of the surroundings, the landscaping, keeping the floors clean, the hallways, make sure that the plumbing is working. Now you've got people collaborating, fixing a problem, and keeping a roof over their heads.
Amen.
Right.
And those that maybe not have those kind of skills, put them in some kind of teaching program that will teach them something so they can be self-sustaining.
Yeah. Now, let me clarify. When I say homeless vets, I know because what you're talking about is a program that they provide that, like you said, you got to go fill out paperwork, things like that. I'm talking about veterans that are on the street. They used to give us this speech, you know, when we were discharged from me for the Navy. I don't know what branch LT was in, but they told us if you are ever homeless anywhere in the world, you can go to a VA hospital and they will take care of you. Okay. That will take care of an immediate need. Now, everything else after that, you're going to have to jump through hoops with gasoline draws on. But they told us upon release from the military that this is an option that you have, just like any VA hospital is supposed to take care of your medical needs. Well, we know how that turned out, you know. So, you know, they have selective how they take care of people based on your color. Once again, you know, now some people don't want to go to a VA hospital. You know, some people have horror stories and things like that they don't want to be bothered with anybody associated with the military. So that's understandable too. But there are programs out there that you're going to have to fight for. Plain and simple, you know, and you feel like you did enough fighting in your life already for this government that don't care nothing about you to allow you to get into this situation that you're in. because it's not all the veterans' fault that they're in that situation. Trust me. There's a story behind each and every one of them.
Especially if you was drafted.
Yeah, well, the draft is all volunteer army. I don't think they draft no more.
No,
but,
I'm saying, but
yeah.
a lot of some of them were drafted.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, they were.
The draft
In the
ended in what,
Vietnam era.
Vietnam? Right.
Yeah, Vietnam era. That's
right.
exactly right.
That was the last one.
Yeah. We used to chase y'all around, LT, the Army and the Air Force. We used to chase y'all around,
Here we go.
Yeah.
We love you long time.
Yeah, sailors on dry land, baby. I know she know what that means.
You were a swabby.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Hey, Ron, put your foot in the photo. Really take this on home.
Were you ever based in Norfolk?
No.
No? Okay.
No,
good, because we would have slapped you around on Church Street.
Oh, man, look. I was actually down in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, I was down there where they had real fine women there, not Norfolk.
They didn't smoke, they didn't drink, nor
yeah, but and that's something that, like you brought it up. There are people out there, like they talked about veterans and things like that. If you have a family member that's a veteran, okay, and you tired of him sleeping on your couch or whatever, then you might have to go through one of them programs like what Lee is talking about. But you do what you can when you become aware of what a person's problem is, and most people will. Whether they're a family member or a friend of the family, you do what you can, and they don't make it easy. It's so much red tape. Like some people, I remember back in the 70s and 80s, they used to throw around regularly all the time about if you're a veteran, you can get a VA loan. And if you poll 50 veterans, you might find 10, maybe 15 that was successfully able to jump through those hoops to get a VA loan, because they didn't make it easy. They didn't make it easy at all, and they still don't. Not even in this day and age.
Well, there's solutions to most of the problems that we are dealing with, and because of bureaucracy, red tape, and everybody's got to get a piece of the pie, it makes it complicated, and in some cases impossible to take the advantage or to get in the loop for these various programs that do exist, whether it's a VA loan for a house or SBA loan or whatever. It's too complicated because of politics. And I'm just going to call it for what it is. Yeah. Politics gets involved, and then it gets bogged down. But if politics would step aside, if the Democrats and the Republicans would come together and say, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to take care of those who are less fortunate. And I'm not going to try to make money out of this process by giving the authority or opportunity to a relative or a friend that can set up shop and get paid for, pushing through the paperwork or whatever it is. That's what happens. Then it becomes more complicated. And if we just take out all of that crap and take care of people, especially our veterans. My dad was a veteran. He was in WW1. I had uncles and brother-in-laws in World War II and Vietnam and all that, and the Korean War or conflict, as they called it. So I come from a family of military people. I'm from the city of Norfolk, Virginia, born and raised.
Military town.
Military town, world's largest naval base, still to this day. So I get it. I mean, I got that military mentality. I get it. I've seen it, lived it. So, and it doesn't have to be complicated. there are military bases that have been shut down. Why shut them down? Convert them to, communities.
Mm-hmm. Come on, you preaching.
Why? I mean, they are useful. They provided housing for military people. So modify those housing projects, military bases, and turn them into viable shelter for former vets or for vets, not former military. So I mean, come on, guys, it's simple, but they make it hard because it was easier to shut down a military base and then sell it off to some developer.
Political.
With your cousin, you're the
Mhm.
senator that pushed that bill through,
Right.
but your cousin or a frat brother or whatever got an opportunity to buy that land for $50 and convert it into a high-rise complex, high-end, and there goes an opportunity to take care of some guys that went and put their lives on the line.
Amen.
For us. That's some
Yep.
bullshit, man. I don't
Yep.
like that. In America, you need to do better. You got to take care of these cats, man. Get them off the streets, men and women. I see it every day in Los Angeles. And even I'm in Las Vegas right now, even here in Vegas. Too many homeless people in America. Too many. One of the little towns I lived in, a suburb of Chicago, when I moved in there, a little town called Bolingbrook. I think it was like 35,000 people. So you're telling me that in the city of Bolingbrook is smaller than the number of people that are living homelessly in Los Angeles. I think Bolingbrook might be 50,000 now, but it's 65,000 or more homeless in the city of Los Angeles. You're talking about tent cities all over the place, but you don't see them in Beverly Hills,
Malibu,
in Malibu, Brentwood, Malibu on the US 1. You'll see some homeless people living in RVs that have been sitting there for 2 years and the
Right.
tires are flat and all of that.
Yeah, they do that down here.
Right. So it's funny, and I laugh because I'm saying this guy's got beachfront property right here on the ocean for free.
For
And
free.
those guys, a quarter of a mile up the hill here, has got a $20 million house.
$50,000 in taxes they got to pay a year and everything.
Exactly.
Right.
So I give my hand to the guy that's smart enough to put the little trailer down on US 1 there, and it's right there on the beach.
Well, I
every
showed
day.
you those pictures.
Yeah.
Those are the new trailer home communities.
Mhm.
The trailers they pull on the back of a car that you would normally take, we all decide we're going to go hunting and we take the
Right.
trailer down and we in there
Right.
scaling the fish and everything. That's somebody's home with kids.
That's right. Okay, Bolingbrook is 73,549 now, according to the 2020 population. See? So it's just a little bit bigger than the population of the homeless down in LA. So yeah, Bolingbrook has grown a lot. And a lot of people moved out of the city when they knocked down all those high-rise housing projects there in the city, moved out to Bolingbrook and Naperville and places like that, Romeoville, Joliet. They moved to the southwest out in the suburbs. But let me tell you, folks, the problems that we have, we can fix. Reggie's on assignment today, and Buck Wild. I think Buck had some production work he was tied up with some of his clients. He does video and audio production for radio stations and what have you, so he gets busy, and that's probably what he's doing tonight. And Professor had a church meeting, so God called him away. Yeah.
He wanted to drag Ron with him, but he was fighting not to go.
Yeah. He said, no, the devil, you can't bring the devil in the God.
Yep.
You see?
He got right up to the camera and just
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah. So, Chris, did we do your topic yet?
No.
Come on back, Chris.
Come on, man.
We love you long time.
No, I'm going to do it. Lee asked me, have I done it? I was like, nope.
No.
Nope.
Well,
Nah,
do
that
it,
wasn't
damn
it. That wasn't the one. If somebody in the booth run the tape back, nah, it was lower than that, dog.
Right. All right, your world, Squirrel. Go for it.
Okay, well, thank you. I got to steal that one. Okay. Oh, help. So Sha'Carri Richardson, the American sprinter who was not allowed to compete in the Tokyo Olympics last summer because she smoked marijuana after her mother died, says race seems to have influenced a decision that allowed Camila Valieva to compete in the Beijing Games after she too failed a drug test. Now, this is what Sha'Carri Richardson's Twitter account said. Can we get a solid answer on the difference of her situation and mine? My mother died, and I can't run and was also favored to place top 3. The only difference I see is that I'm a Black young lady. And that was, again, from Sha'Carri Richardson's Twitter account. Now, as we know that Valieva is Russian and ironically failed to place in the Olympics. She fell to 4th place after falling twice in the women's free skate. The only difference between Richardson and her was the fact Richardson accepted the results by the IOC. She did not try to appeal the findings. Valieva appealed her case multiple times to the IOC. And let's state the facts about race and optics. So she is correct about the difference, but Russians have been known to cheat since the beginning of time itself. Russians have always cheated when it came to Olympics. They created their own committee. They take a blind eye. As a matter of fact, Valieva tested positive for 1 banned hard drug and 2 other hard medicines in December. Yes, she got a free pass to compete, and it didn't even work because now, like I said, she didn't even get a medical contention and will not be a part of the ceremonies when it comes to that. And I wonder if Richardson did pass, would she be able to compete fairly? There's a conversation before on Street News Now about how her optics look, how she would look, going back to Richardson, the colored hair, the long fingernails, the long eyelashes. Do they want to put money behind that, whether it's American money or IOC when it comes to sponsorships? Do you actually want that type of representation? The marijuana situation just happened to fall into their lap, quote unquote, and they were able to ban her. But once again, Richardson did not even fight that at all in the IOC, the Olympic International Committee. International Olympic Committee. This is nothing new. But when it comes to how we are when it comes to Olympics, I recommend a documentary that's currently on Showtime. It came out in 2018 called Withdrawn Arms about Olympic runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos. And we see the iconic 2 men with the black fist in the air. Not only a black fist, you have a black leather glove
on.
And that's showing, hey, man, we're sending a message. It changed their lives forever. To the standpoint of coming back home and not having an Olympics welcome or Olympian welcome. They were reduced to pretty much common slaves. They were reduced to even not even being human. And that's the price we pay when we're trying to represent this country. And we fail when it comes to taking care of our own. Let's go back real quick to the Lawrence Nassau case. Remember, he was the U.S. gymnastics teacher that pleaded guilty to charges of criminal sexual assault and federal child pornography charges, sentenced to 175 years in jail. Wow. 150 women, more than 150 women, came forward and said they were molested and sexually assaulted by a former Dr. Lawrence Nassau. And we dropped the ball many times on our end, not just Russia, I had the opportunity to meet and know on a first name basis a former Olympic skater, Debbie Thomas. Debbie Thomas, after she competed, was here in Chicago to go to Northwestern to study to become a medical doctor. And we met, and we were all in a group, and we went out for drinks. And I had to tell her, I said, look, I always thought that when you compete against Germany's Katharina Witt, that the United States seemed to embrace her, meaning Katharina Witt, more than you because she's of Anglo, persuasion. Debbie Thomas said yes. For her to represent the country, and for an outside someone from another country altogether to be embraced because she's white or looks white is not only damning, it's disturbing. Wait a minute, I thought I was representing the U.S. But because someone did not look like, I don't know, white people in America, that's a pressure that is not only horrid, but highly disrespectful. As we know, these Olympians train all year round, all years round for that competition. And then your own country wants to blackball you. Your own country wants to put up ways for you to fail to a degree. So how pure is the Olympics? It's not pure. Anytime we look at people of color who have all this strength and powers, as I call it, because you work towards it, and you're out there on the court, field, golf course, go back to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, y'all. They had to change the golf courses to make it more difficult because he was just that dominant. It never fails when it comes to us because they'll do what they can to take the finish line and push it further, change the rules, don't do this, don't do that, because they want to control the whole playing field literally. Yes, Sha'Carri Richardson, there is a difference called double standard. That's exactly what that is. You're absolutely correct in your assessment. But at the same time, if they don't want you, they don't have to have you. And I yield back to the panel.
Good point. Now, the Russian skater, she fell twice today, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And she came in what, fourth place?
You can't forget about the fact that when she fell, she cried.
Yeah.
You got to add that on it. Not only did she fall, but she started bawling like a baby.
She knew it was over.
You fall twice and see how you feel. I mean,
oh man, I look.
It was emotion.
I ain't.
Or do
ain't
you
going
think
for that.
that she realized that she was on these drugs and that helped her, and then when she's not on it, she's not all that?
I think being 15 years old and thrust into the international spotlight, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that is
complete pressure. Right. Not only pressure from a competing standpoint, and the Russians, look, the Russians are a part of the what I call part of the legal team of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. That's that's the MO since day one. Give you a perfect example. Years ago on Fox News, Chris Wallace was about to interview Russian President Vladimir Putin. So Chris Wallace has in his hand a stack of papers about the allegations of the election in the United States and some other allegations. He hands it to Putin. Putin says, and put it on the table. Why? Because in Russia and other spy international things, if you touch the paper, there's an ink in there that will get into your system and take you smooth out.
Whoop.
So it's like, hey, I ain't touching nothing.
Right.
I don't even trust my own people. I can't even trust myself. Hey man, I can't even wash my own ass. I can't trust me with toilet paper. So why should I even touch that stack of papers you have there? So the Russians always operated from corruptness, the corrupt regime, and that's how they operate. So to put that pressure on a 15-year-old is beyond damning.
You know, they have movies that imitate life. I know everybody here is old enough to remember the Rocky movies, and when they had that superhuman Russian dude that was on something, steroids, something, and he had to fight just an average American, I believe it was the black guy that played Action Jackson.
Yeah.
And I tell
Carl
you,
Weathers.
yeah, that whole scenario explained how these guys come in with like machines, no emotions, no nothing. And that's the way Russian athletes have trained. They have no emotions. So it was a breaking character to see this young lady fall and then cry.
Yeah.
She'll probably wind up on the Russian front somewhere. You know, we'll never hear from her ever again in history.
You're an embarrassment.
You know, but you know, I also, part of your story, I understand that they were very much intimidated by that black girl who smoked the joint. Okay. They were intimidated, and they've always been intimidated by black athletes, going all the way back to Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
Come on now.
My man left every time he run, he went to the bathroom.
Yeah. This dude
Gotta
went
be-
over there and disgraced
Yeah.
the entire German empire. Okay. So, I mean, that's in the books I was telling y'all about a little while ago, you know, Black history,
Yeah.
past and present, you know, for those that never heard of Jesse Owens. But this man, right before World War, which one? One, two,
I think it
two,
was one,
Two.
wasn't it? Two? Okay.
two. Yeah. The Japanese was one.
Okay, yeah. It'd be
Yeah. And I tell you, they were not ready because they had built this propaganda that there was no athlete on the planet better than a German athlete. Okay. And then this brother came from California, came over there, took every gold medal that they had. So down through time, they've always feared the black athlete and his superiority, because then they started spinning this yarn in history. Okay, we breeded them to be better athletes. Remember that story, y'all? We breeded them that way. We took the Zulus and the Mandinkas and we put them together, and we knew they was gonna be fast. You know, but they always trying to justify why they treat us like shit. Yeah, I said it out loud. You know, political propaganda and agenda.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Where do we go from here, guys? You know, we can identify all the problems, but what are the solutions that you think we should be looking at now?
Well, part of it goes back to what we said in the conversation about history and education, and it starts with us. And you have to constantly put this in the minds of children, because if you don't, they're doomed to repeat what happened in our history.
Yep.
And you cannot just let that roll off your back. You have to be more proactive. And as a child coming up, you wonder why your parents always knew what you did, because they already did it.
Exactly.
They knew your move before you even moved yourself. And the wisdom of that is not to repeat the mistakes you made in your life. So you can impart to your children. Hell, just impart to somebody who has the ear to listen to you. Let them know that if you about to run this path, you're about to get caught or end up bad. One of my favorite times, I started to watch Judge Greg Mathis. He, in the beginning of his shows, he always dedicated it to his mother, because Greg Mathis grew up in Michigan. He was a thug. One of my favorite stories of all time. Back then, I used to get these extras from the New York bestsellers list, and his book was out at the time. And the quote was, his mother had a knock on the door. 2 cops, 2 policemen were at the door. Excuse me, ma'am, there's been a 4-block radius of these homes in 4 blocks being either vandalized or gunpoint, and we want to know, do you know anything? Hold on 1 second. Be right back. She went and grabbed a 13-year-old Greg Mathis. Take him. Either he did it or he knows who did it. That's a definition of tough love, because she was not going to ignore it. And some parents have been doing it, knowing your son or daughter out there doing the most, but you ignore it because you don't want to face the facts. Or if said mother is looking at their children and they bring back the stolen items or they bring back money and they turn a blind eye to that. Mrs. Mathis, and once again, I never obviously have met the woman, but she has my utmost respect for separating the two. And she said that, and he said that doing acts like that saved his life. Let me give you to the police and the authorities, because what I'm saying to you ain't cutting. It's not cutting. It's not going through to you.
That's right.
So I can show you, but I can tell you. His mother saved his life.
Absolutely.
We have to save our children's lives.
Yep. We got to let them know that we know. We cannot be like them. My parents at no time were trying to be like me or the kids in the neighborhood. Parents, children. End of story.
When a parent becomes a friend of their child, I think that's kind of a mistake. I mean, you can be a friend, of course, but you can't talk to a child like they're a grown adult when they're, especially,
Teenage.
less than a teenager even.
Yeah.
And you expose them to too much adulthood too soon. They can't process that. So if they see mom and dad hanging out all night, drinking, doing drugs, and partying like it's 1999, and just doing stuff that just doesn't promote good morals, and what do you think that child's going to be?
Nothing.
They're gonna emulate mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Confused. They're confused.
Yeah, because they don't know no better. When you're young and your exposure is limited, that's all you know. No fault of yours. Your immediate environment was limited. If you never travel outside of your neighborhood, never been on a bus ride or a train ride or an airplane ride or on vacation, if you don't know which fork to use in a formal setting,
How to set the table.
Yep.
What do you do first? If you don't know the basic things like that, man, you're limited.
You're cheating them, actually.
Yeah. You're not doing that child. You're not raising that child to be able to be prepared for the real world.
Right. I used to tell my son that all the time. He was 16, 17 years old, and he thought he was grown, like most 16, 17-year-olds. And I used to have to tell him, I just confront him on point blank. I said, boy, I'm not your friend. You get to choose your friends. I'm your father. God gave me this job.
That's right.
Okay. And I don't need your help to help me do my job. Now get the hell out of my face.
Boom.
God says I was 20 years old when I found out my name was not shut up.
Get out of here.
Yeah, or boy, doing? Or especially boy, man. I didn't know my name until like I was 12. Yeah. Hey, boy.
Boy, you better get out of here with that.
And didn't know boy was a disrespectful thing.
In a major way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that till I watched Good Times. Michael was like, boy is a white racist word. I'm like, it is? Not where I come from.
Right.
That's my nickname.
Right. And it was not a term of endearment either.
Yep, that's so true.
But that was a time when lines were very defined between parents and children. very defined. You knew where the line was. You wasn't gonna cross that line without consequences. Okay. And every now and then, when you think you got a little hair on your chest, you'll try and get close to the line, but when you make that move, you're like, okay, I gotta wait a while, I gotta regroup, I gotta go back on my side of the line and stay over here for a while.
Otherwise, you're gonna
ready
lose
to
it.
go over there.
That's right. You're gonna lose the taste in your mouth.
Yeah,
From that backhand.
Yeah, I think I told this story on the show once before. I was working in New Orleans at a convention, and it was a group of social workers of some type, and I was listening to the definition of child abuse. So at break, at the end of the day, I called my mama. I say, do you know you child abused me? Now I'm 30 years old.
Right.
And she said, so?
And your point is?
She like, so? She said, I think you turned out okay. I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't even bring it up no more after that.
True. And my dad, I love my dad. I couldn't wait to get older because I wanted to be his wingman. You just see how your father comports himself, operates. I was like, man, I just want to be his partner, his running buddy, partner in crime. But there were times I was like, oh man, he's getting on my damn nerves. So I remember my dad was a taskmaster, get up, scratch, go to the bathroom. When he get out, mow the lawn, trim the grass, paint the house, and do all type of stuff before you leave and have fun. So I'm in the house and I'm cleaning up and everything else. And so I said, man, give me a break. We're out of Windex and we're out of paper towels. Like, ooh wee, this is gonna be great. Sorry, Mike. This is gonna be great. So I said, Dad, we're out of paper towel, out of Windex. Okay, boy, be right back. Here, take this vinegar and take this newspaper.
That's right.
And go clean the windows. I was like, damn it. But he got me.
Been there, done that.
Hey man, it ain't gonna stop no show. You still gonna put in hard work.
That's
right.
Yeah,
if you want that newspaper and vinegar work just as good.
If not better.
It was better, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was better. Yeah.
Look, if you want to eat in your parents' house, you got to show some work. Because I couldn't wait to child abuse my child. He gonna sleep all the way till 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and he gonna get up and do the routine like Chris just said. Burp, scratch. Run downstairs and try and grab my kitchen door. I was like, hold on, Jim Shoe.
Hold up.
Wait a minute. Where you going? He went to stuttering. I'm finna give me something to eat. I said, not in my kitchen, you ain't.
Right.
But I got food in there. Not in my refrigerator, you don't. Dude, you are not gonna get up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday talking about I'm finna to go eat like you done slept all the whole day away.
Right.
I said, what about my work that need to be done for you allowed to use my gas on my stove to cook your food in my refrigerator?
See, you were good because in my house, my mom and daddy's house, and no way were you gonna still be in bed at 3 o'clock.
That was a
on
one-time
a Saturday.
deal. That was a one-time deal.
Yeah, absolutely. He got lucky.
I wanted to see how long he would sleep on his own flourishing, on his own. I just wanted, it was an experiment, and he failed miserably.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
Oh, they getting you up, man.
Oh, yeah. And nobody did anything until the house was clean.
And that's what I told him.
Top to bottom.
I said, bro, you got to do some work around here before you able to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? That was the fastest I've ever seen him move. Because he can't say he was tired.
No. He had plenty of energy.
Yeah, he had plenty of energy and was hungry. He had plenty of money.
Right.
I said, dude, you ain't brush your teeth, wash your face. You gonna come strolling down here at the age of 17? I was like, boy, you might get put out today.
Right. he the breadwinner today.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah. Saturday morning was like getting up to go to school. You might have got a half hour longer, to stay in bed. But after that, man, it was get up and let's get it.
Oh,
Is it-
everything was to be done.
Yeah,
When I had to cut the grass, I couldn't cut the grass until I picked up every rock, every stick, and
Piece of
every piece
glass.
of paper. So I got to
Yep.
scale the lawn before
Yep.
I even start the lawnmower.
That's right. That's right.
Wait a minute. Y'all had lawnmowers?
Yeah, we had lawnmowers.
Yeah. My dad gave me one of them push jobs.
Push
Yeah, with a
mowers.
push job.
Wait a minute. And the blade was dull.
Oh my God! Yeah. No, we had
That
a
was hard
Toro or
work.
whatever it
Oh,
was, but
man,
you
please.
couldn't cut that grass until you scaled that thing. And then later on, I find out, okay, well, yeah, if the blade hits a rock, it could hit the window and bust the glass.
Right.
Yep.
But they
Or
didn't
dull the- or
explain
dull the
any of that
blade.
to you.
Right. Or dull the blade.
A dull
Right.
blade. I don't need to
Mhm.
explain it to you. Just do what I tell you to do.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly.
Don't question me.
Don't
Just
question
do it.
me.
Just do as I
Man, look.
say.
And all I can remember at this old age was we had the old Haney place, like 50 acres of nothing but tall grass. And I'm trying to cut it down every weekend. I tell you, man, oh my God. And it wasn't no eating, it wasn't no break, none of that. He in the house with sweet tea with a lemon.
Sweet tea.
Enjoying the moment.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right, LT. That's right. Leslie, yeah. Don't question me, boy. Right.
That's right. That's right. She questioned me, boy.
Oh man, that's why I called my mama and said child abuse.
Yeah. But you know what?
Uh-huh.
We all turn out pretty good.
Amen. That.
You know what I mean?
I'm proud of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
good.
I got my
Yeah.
butt whipped a few times.
And social consciousness,
Yeah.
everything that we're saying was stuff that we've been through, and like you said, we all didn't die from it, but we need to try and set the same examples for the people who listen to us to not fall into pitfalls and traps, won't be friends with their kids.
That's
My sister did that. My sister took her oldest daughter and would sit down and moan and groan about her baby daddy.
Mm.
Now she's a child, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, listening to her mama complain about her daddy. Okay. And then wonder why she got a problem with men. Okay. Now she's 30-something years old now, and she got issues because of that.
That's right.
But you put that seed in her. So, anybody, don't make them same mistakes. Don't be friends with your kids.
No.
Point. God gave you a job in that child's life.
Train
He
them up.
made you either the mother or the father. So you got a job. Don't try to be the friend, the boo, or whatever else they call them, because these kids nowadays got slang for each other. Whatever the slang word is for today, don't be it.
Don't be it.
Remember what your first job was in that child's life: to be a mother or to be a father.
Amen.
That's it.
Okay, that's the
your
job
first
that God gave
responsibility.
you. That's
Yeah.
the job and God don't make no mistakes.
Come on now.
All right.
Him loving you a long time.
I ain't gonna touch that. with
Perfect
10
timing.
foot
Yeah.
pole.
Right. But you know what, folks, we have a responsibility as parents, grandparents, and sometimes it's not easy. But if you are not in touch with what that kid is doing, then you've already lost the fight. You got to communicate with them. You got to ask questions, and you have to set examples, and you got to make them responsible. Stay on it.
Doggone it.
Doggone it. Absolutely. You got to stay on point. Stay the course every day. Just dropping them off at school, picking them up in the afternoon, that's not all you have to do, should
Right.
do. It's all the in-between stuff, making sure the homework is done, making sure that if they're in some kind of sports activity, participate, be
Yep.
there. And I know it's tough, especially now with the economy the way it is, everything's so expensive. You can't take off early to go and go to a baseball game, basketball game, or football game, or soccer game, or whatever. Jump rope, it doesn't matter. It's hard because you got to work a lot harder nowadays.
Yep.
You know, back when my mom and dad came along, my mom was at home most of the time. My dad worked, but the cost of living was different.
Yeah.
The family structure was different.
Hmm.
Now both parents have to work
Yep.
99% of the time. And, and if one parent can't for whatever reason, either they have a problem, medical issue, mental issue, or you got some badass kids that somebody's got to stay home with, then that's what you got to do. But it makes it harder. Listen, when I see things, prices of cars and housing and food, gas, in California, the gas is still over $5 a gallon.
Damn.
I
For
saw-
regular?
Yeah. And
Jeez.
and premium gas is like $5.49 at the major, gas station. There's some that are like $4.99, $4.75, but $3 is unheard of. $3.50, $4 is unheard of. I don't
That's right.
listen. I don't know when I've seen gas for $4 in California. I paid $4.45 today to fill up in Vegas. $4.45. What is it in Texas right now?
I put regular in mine and $3.28.
Shit.
Filled up
Listen,
today.
I'm gonna send you a couple 55-gallon drums down there to fill me.
Right. I sent them through Amazon.
Right, exactly. It'll be cheaper for me to do that. Man, shoot. Now my tank is 31 gallons. So yeah, go figure. Just $5 times 31. There you go.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
That ain't this.
Yeah. It's funny because I went to the Circle K gas station today and it stopped at $75. I said, shit, that ain't but 16 gallons. So I had to put the card back. I had to put the card back in and fill give it all up. And that was another $50. So
that's crazy.
$125. Crazy.
That's crazy.
No, $150.
Yeah, that's $150.
Yeah. So how does the guy that's making $12 an hour survive?
He ain't doing it in California.
Ain't doing it nowhere.
But there are people there
Hell
that
no.
are living that I don't know how they're managing it unless they got 25 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. That's the only way you're gonna make it work.
And we talked about that before. The politicians and the Republicans mainly, they said that people don't want to go back to work, and that's not true. People are willing to work for a decent wage. They can't go back to work for $5 an hour plus tips.
Can't afford it.
Child care is worth more than that. And gas to get to and from is worth more than that. So they're working to go backwards, just trying to keep a roof, and they can't even keep a roof, trying to keep food on the table. Because you ain't surviving with that kind of money. You say $12 an hour, they can't do it. You pay people a decent wage. Okay, right now we're looking at quote unquote inflation. Okay, quote unquote. They raised the price of everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's almost double of what it was last year this time. The prices have gone up so high, it makes you cringe when you walk into a cheap store like Walmart. Walmart usually has stuff at a reasonable price, but now, not anymore.
It's not that much of a difference anymore because it costs them just as much as the other grocery chains to get the products. Now, there's a big thing about avocados now from Mexico.
Right. Exactly.
They're sky high, and then the cartel has jumped into that game. That's a new drug,
Right.
selling bad
Avocado.
avocados.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, if it's not one thing, it's 25 others.
Yeah.
So,
But you look at it, one of the reasons that they said that everything price of goods went up so high was because it was sitting on containers off the coast of California.
Yep.
That's the lie they told until all of a sudden you go in the store and everything is on the shelf with the price being high.
well, I'm down by the ocean almost every day, and last time I was there last Thursday. I saw one ship out there, so
That's a
that's some
lie.
old bullshit right there.
There you go.
There's no ship sitting off of Long Beach in L.A. right now. They're all unloaded and gone. I
On
don't
the
know where they
shelf.
are. Yeah,
Yeah. With
They're
a
gone.
double price tag on it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe during that time it was a real problem. Now these jackasses up there in Canada, the truckers up there, causing a problem and blocking the roads so you can't get through the borders and all that. Come on, guys, that's not a solution. That's just driving the prices of stuff up even more.
Yeah.
Now, what you have to do is to work with the people that you're working for. If you're a company driver, ain't nothing you can do about it. You're gonna have to drive that company truck at whatever the price is. If you're an independent contractor, don't go lowballing unless you have to. But get those products out there to the people so they can buy them at a decent price to keep your ass moving. Because if you're not delivering, guess what? We're not buying.
Yep.
If it's sitting in your truck, you ain't making no money either. You make no money if your truck ain't rolling.
That's
Your
right.
truck stops, so does
The
what,
book.
Ron? Ron,
Yep.
he knows. He used to drive those big
Yep.
18 wheelers.
That's the main reason why I'm not in the business to this day, because the freight prices went down, and then people were taking it for little or nothing,
Right.
and the fuel prices went up, and freight prices went down, and I'm like, I'm done. I traded in my CDL. I'm through. I'm not doing this no more.
Right.
Yep. And
And a lot of guys did.
yeah, and it's not going to get any better because there are people that will accept that price of freight and will move it for whatever they're trying to offer it for, and it doesn't help the industry at large. Recently,
Right.
I just saw this. I don't know how many people saw this. They are taking teenagers now and putting them behind the wheels of 18-wheelers.
Yeah, it's just a stopgap for the autonomous trucks that
Yeah.
are already on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time. So my recommendation to truck drivers is make sure that you train up for another job in the transportation industry. Maybe it's a mechanic, because even those electric trucks are going to break down, so they have to be repaired.
Yep.
Somebody's going to have to, plug those things into the electrical outlets so they can be charged up. Somebody's going to have to build those charging stations.
Yep.
Somebody's still going to have to manage the freight scheduling, until that is totally automated, where the goes on a load board and the computer says, okay, that one's good. We can take that and dispatch it out to the nearest truck that's ready to roll. That's going to happen.
Yep.
Because technology, it lends itself to that. So, we have to, as humans, we have to stay a step ahead of technology or be a part of the technology growth. I've been saying it for the last 30 or 40 years. Learn how to program these computers, learn how to develop software, websites, and all that kind of stuff, because I saw where it was headed. I saw how it could eliminate menial tasks that we were doing in radio stations. And, they don't need half of the number of people that they used to have to have on staff now. Mike knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
So get in it, learn something else, keep growing. Don't stop. Don't think that all you know is all you need to know for the rest of your life. Forget about it. That's not enough.
Forget about it.
Right. That being said, folks, thank you for joining us this Thursday. And we do it every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We call it Six Guys and You. It used to be 5 and it's grown. It may end up being 7 or 8. Who knows?
Hey, we got a union. Cut that out.
See? Protection. So join us next Thursday at 6 p.m. And don't forget to subscribe. Whatever platform you're watching us on right now, subscribe to that. We'd like for you to come over to YouTube because we're trying to really grow our YouTube channel up and get that base a little stronger. Thank you again for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week with another grand show. Thank you, guys. I love you, and peace be with you.